We are live. So, welcome to the Elevate Your Lifestyle podcast. This is episode 1. So, my whole mission, my whole journey behind this whole podcast is to bring value to you as the listener in terms of nutrition, training, high mindset, high achiever, high performance, everything possible. Each week, I'm going to be bringing on a special guest so that we can hear from their story, their side of things. I'll challenge them on a few things throughout the podcast, and we can take as much value away as possible. So I am pleased to announce that today we are joined by Patrick, otherwise known as PMC. How are you, mate? All good?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, mate. How are you?
All good, all good. Apart from being cold, but we move on. We are coming into the winter, but it doesn't distract us at all. So first of all, who is PMC? Introduce yourself. Let the listeners know who you are.
Right, guys. So I am Patrick Morshead, also known as Patrick Morshead Coaching, so the PMC. I've been a personal trainer for the last coming on 9 years now, and I still am a PT. So a load of people have like more transition towards the online coaching side of things. I am still a PT, loving the PT life, and yeah, that's basically me.
So that's kind of question number 1. So what is it about PT that keeps you there? Because obviously we've got this world now of PT and online coaching. What keeps you doing the hybrid? What keeps you doing what you're doing with the PT sort of stuff, but also online as well?
Yeah, so I personally love the actual one-to-one interaction. For me, personal training is so much more than just coaching an individual through a session. I really emphasize, like, when I take a client on board, I'm like, I'm not just here to coach you. I'm not just here to do a camera for you. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give you everything you possibly need to get to where you want to be. And while I coach you through the gym session, we'll talk through everything in regards to your nutrition, lifestyle, training, so on and so forth, to make sure you optimize everything where we want it to be. Also, get to know you, so really understand who you are, what makes you essentially work, what doesn't, and just build a really good relationship behind that. So like the client themselves really enjoys the session, but also as well, like it's a good session between both of us. And then I offer, like, within my personal training, I offer like a hybrid approach as well. So if they want to do check-in side of things, if they want to monitor their body weight, monitor the progression, so on and so forth, and if they've got bigger goals towards dieting phases or photo shoots or holidays or whatever it is, then we can really step things up in that side of things. So I'd run like a little bit more of like a hybrid approach of coaching. But for me, the one-to-one, it is. I absolutely love it. I love getting to know people, building relationships with people, and like gaining and having clients for an extended period of time. So you just really know exactly who they are and what they want.
Yeah, I think there's 2 key things that you said there is client relationship, but also longevity as well. Like there's a lot of these things at the minute, 6-week challenges, 8-week challenges, etc. But it takes a while for someone to be able to fully transform their life or their body to the extent that maybe they want. So that's a huge part of everything. But also what you touched on there was also longevity as well. Like longevity in terms of actually getting to know someone, having that client relationship with them. That is a huge thing. So ultimately, what got you into coaching to begin with?
So when I was at school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was always sporty, always like dedicated to my childhood towards sport. We got to about 17, 18, had no real idea, did some A-levels, still didn't really have any idea. And then I thought, actually, I started training loads, really enjoying it. I actually got a personal trainer myself. So I got PT when I was younger, when I was like 17, 18, and fell in love with the process. I fell in love with being coached. I fell in love with the knowledge that he was giving me. Like, gave me consistency, gave me guidance, gave me things to focus on. And I absolutely loved that. So I thought, maybe this is actually what I want to do. I want to help other people. I'm absolutely loving this myself. I was young, so I thought I'd try it. I got and did my PT qualification, and then took a while to get a job. Ended up getting a job in a leisure centre, becoming a lifeguard, and then my family were like, just get a job in the leisure, you'll figure yourself out. Did that, and then started doing some shifts in the gym. The manager of the gym said he trained at the gym I train at now, Halo Gym, and he said there's a job going, apply for it, and then got the job. So now we're here.
Unreal. So you did the classic lifeguard entry into the.
Lifeguard entry just to get into the industry. I was like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get into it? Then to be fair, it worked out really well because I was doing like fitness instructor shifts in the gym as well, so doing classes and bits and bobs like that. So it all sort of worked itself out.
Unreal. So you kind of used your own journey as the catalyst to be able to do what you do today. So what was it? Because 17, 18 is quite a young age to get a PT, right? So what was it that that sparked in you to be like, right, I want to get a coach? What was it? Were you not seeing the results that you want? What was it that sparked that to be like, right, I'm going to invest in a coach myself?
When I was young, I was quite unconfident with my own physique. I never really, to be fair, that's a conversation we can dive into to this day. But it's one of those things of like I've never been fully confident in regards to my physique. Never was when I was younger. And then I thought maybe if I get into have a bit more understanding of what I need to be doing inside the gym, what I need to be doing with my nutrition, maybe that will get me to having a little bit more confidence with regards to my physique and physique development and so on and so forth.
100%. So let's have the conversation then. So what is it about your physique that you struggled with back then, and what
It's
do
one of those things where I think
you say?
it's one of those things where I think the majority of us who go to the gym actually train will have a level of body dysmorphia or essentially just unconfidence in their own physique. That's why we're in the gym pretty much all the time.
I think 99.99999% of trainers have a level of insecurity, which is what got them to training themselves, which is then where they want to pass on that knowledge. That's my belief. I'm not saying that's factually correct, but I'm saying a lot of people within the industry have this level of self-doubt that they want to continue progressing forward.
Yeah, massively, and for me, it's one of those things. But I don't get me wrong, like, I'm not unconfident with my physique now. I'm pretty happy with my physique, but it's for me, it's more down to now like the continuously progression, progressing like on a day-to-day basis, making sure that I'm showing up, making sure that I'm developing myself as much as I can on a daily basis, and like I think that the own confidence side of things got me to getting into training, got that ball rolling. Now it's like I'm on this journey of just becoming the best version I possibly can of myself.
So if you have a couple of days in a row or a couple of weeks in a row right now, let's say this year, for example, where you feel like you're not progressing or moving closer towards where you want to be, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, so it's a bizarre. Well, for me, I'm on all in. I'm like I have to be all in something. So like I've done multiple bouts of different sort of styles of training and different things. I'm sure we'll touch on this in a minute, but like it's one of these things where like I've always been someone who's like, right, cool, I'm on something, let's go, let's put everything into this. And when I'm like at the moment, basically, I just completed a marathon. Now I'm in this sort of like limbo world where I'm recovering from a little bit of an injury and I have to sort of scale back a little bit. But I just put my focus towards other things. So for me at the moment, a little bit more hypertrophy training, got a program in place there, doing a little bit more like low intensity cardio, a couple of HIIT sessions a week, and I make sure I've got a plan across the week in regards to what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, because that's going to hold me accountable. I've got consistency there. And then with my nutrition, I just make sure, okay, cool. At the moment, I'm going to run like a little bit of a mini cut, but I'm just trying something a little bit different. I'm not tracking my food while doing this. I'm going to do it a bit more freestyle and sort of eyeballing things, and just give myself these little challenges as I go through.
So with that plan in place, obviously you're all in, you've got the plan in place. What happens if the week still doesn't go to plan? So you're following everything that you want to do in terms of physique development, injury rehab, business-wise, and progressing all of that. If you've got the plan in place and you've got that structure, yet you still feel like at the end of the week you haven't progressed forward, how do you feel and how do you deal with that? Because I think for a lot of listeners, they could relate to that, because it's good to have a plan, but also at the same time, we know that life happens and stuff goes on during the week, right?
Yeah, massively. I'll do everything I physically can not to miss a session. So if that means that like I've got to wake up stupid time in the morning to go get it in, I'll get it in. If that means I've got to stay up very late to get it in, I'll get it in. Even if it like comes down to jeopardizing sleep, I know it's probably not the right answer, but I probably would do that because I'm one of these people where like I have to be consistent. and I always will be consistent. Even when I go on holiday, I still like to keep my routine. I'm very routine placed. If anyone knows me, they'll know that like I am as a man of routine. And but if I don't get me wrong, there is some days where things happen and things pop up, life happens. I will get a like overwhelming sense of anxiety within that. I'm like, whoa, okay. But then I've got to think about that and be like, oh, okay, it's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's like, it doesn't matter. Like nothing's changed. Let's not play catch up. Let's just miss that session and we crack on and we move forward.
So do you think having those high standards from yourself comes from running away from pain and insecurity, or is it I want to just keep being better and better and a higher performer? Do you think it comes from that level of pain, insecurity, and maybe self-doubt that you want to get away from? So are you moving away from pain, or are you moving closer to a higher achieving self?
I think it comes down to a bit of both, really. I think I always want to, in regards to like striving towards become the best version. I love challenging myself, like taking myself. When it comes to like my own training, we'll talk about something. When it comes to my own training, it's all about okay, cool. How far can I take this, and what's the next challenge? How far can I take my body? What is achievable?
Mm.
And it's one of those things where I like that there's a thought process towards it's like a circle, and like you're in the middle of the circle, and once you get near to the edge, so say for example for me, I was here, I did a 5K run, and I was like, right, cool, that was hard. Okay, well, how's a half marathon going to feel? Okay,
Mm.
cool, I got there. I got the edge
Mm.
of the circle. Now circle's got bigger. And I'm like, wicked, cool, did the half marathon. Now I did a marathon. I'm like, cool. What's next? Now I'm like, right, cool. A 50 miler. How's that going to feel? What's that
Mm.
going to be like? People are doing that. How far is that going to push me? What's it going to teach me along the way? Is it going to make me become more of a resilient human? Is that going to make me become better with other factors of life because I'm pushing myself to places where I never thought I'd be able to push? And to get to those places as well, the things I love about it is you have to put in the work. And
Yeah.
it's not like you can go run a marathon tomorrow, but some people could. You could, it'd fucking hurt. But like, it comes down to like, okay, I have to show up and I have to put the work in. Like I said I'm going to do this, I'm going to show up. And that involves consistency, it involves discipline, it involves delayed gratification. And all those things are the like key driver of like who I am. And they're the things I love, like consistency. It's like one of my biggest values in my life. It's like, it got to be consistent. And so that's what I love about the training. So I think when it comes down to like, so it's always about striving towards becoming the best version of myself. And I think when it comes to coaching, it's a little bit more a bit of both. I think with the coaches, I think it's I want to be the best possible coach I physically can for my clients,
Mm-hmm.
and that's always been the thing. I've always looked at my coaching in a sense of how would I want to be coached if I was paying this money and
Yeah.
I was paying for this service? How would I want it to be? Would I want to be replied to all the time? Would I, if I had a question, would I want to be responded to? Would I want to, if I turn up to the gym, would like, for example, I've got standards like I've got to be there 15 minutes early before the session, unless I'm obviously back to back, but you know what I mean? I'm always there. I've set standards in regards to because I always want to walk into the gym and the person's there to meet me. I'm not waiting for them; they're waiting to see what I mean. And it's like little things like that, understanding, like tracking their progress in the gym, making sure they're progressing. All these side of things, having good communication with them, understanding their lives. So I want someone to understand my life, understand what's going on. So that's always been a huge part of my like personal training, personal and coaching side of things is being the best version of myself. But definitely, like you always, I think any self-employed person has this underwhelming line of like anxiety of like what happens if everyone just like stopped, and it's like then if everyone did stop, I'd be jobless, and it's like right, cool, I've got things to pay for now. Like, I'm an adult, I've got a family, I've got
Mm.
a house to pay for, and so on and so forth. And I think it's that blend of both. But I think both, and I use both of them as fuel to my fire to push forward massively.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would never like every day I'm like consistent on socials. I'm consistent in my marketing, even when I'm been up to like 30 to 40 hours of PT per week, so I'm fully booked. I'm still doing daily marketing. I'm still pushing because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's showing up every single day to be able to get from where you are right now to where you want to be. And I think when you use that circle analogy just a minute ago, I think you're always looking for a bigger pond. And if we use the circle reference, that pond just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you constantly want to make yourself uncomfortable because you know that where you want to be and the goals that you are chasing and your higher self is in that place of being uncomfortable. And if you always stay comfy, you're always going to keep doing what you're doing and staying the same, right? Which as humans, it's in our nature that we don't want to stay the same. We want to change all the time. We want new challenges. We want new opportunities to keep striving to a higher position, to a higher self. So I think that segues on really nicely to kind of the next topic that we're going to talk about, because you kind of, your first original goals when you first got into training were a lot of bodybuilding based, a lot of physique development. And recently, obviously, you've transitioned into marathon training where you completed your first marathon a couple of weeks ago. So let's start from the bodybuilding days. Why did you want to get into more of the physique development, bodybuilding stuff initially?
So actually, I'm going to take you back on memory lane, mate. So when I first got into the industry, like first ever got in the industry, I did Olympic weightlifting back in the day. So I actually competed in Olympic weightlifting. I was never good, I wouldn't say. If anyone listening to this and knows Olympic weightlifting, I snatched 98 kilos, I clean and jerked 130 kilos, and I back scored 180 kilos. So I looked a lot different though. If you went down to my archives, my Instagram, you'd see I was like 105 kilos.
And what are you currently?
105 kilos.
What are you currently for the listeners?
I'm 82.
Wow.
So there's a big difference. So basically, within my coaching world, I started off just doing like general population PT while just sort of getting people into the gym while doing Olympic weightlifting. Then I got to a point where I was like, you look ridiculous. Like I was overweight. I didn't like the way I looked at all. I've always been like a slim, skinny guy. Then I got this large. I'm tall. I'm 6'4", and I was just large, and I really didn't like the look at all. So I thought, no, what I'm going to do? We're talking like back in 2000. I want to say 2016 now. I was like, right, I'm going to book a photo shoot with a mate who's a photographer. I'm going to do it in a gym. I'm going to do I think I did like a 12-week diet. And I went from like 105 kilos down to like 86 kilos. Okay. Something like that. And then that sparked my like love for this side of things, from the nutritional side of things, the training side. It absolutely, like, that journey gave me everything I wanted in regards to like set me up for like where I want to be, if that makes sense. It gave me like the nutritional lifestyle, or the training, the habits in place to go from there. So from there, obviously ran a diet business, then flew with that, because obviously dieting down, people want to achieve fat loss, they want to see people do it, and so on and so forward. Then I was like, right, I'm going to go into a bit more hypertrophy training, looking to really develop the physique. And then did some gaining phases, cutting phases, so on and so forward. Did a few photo shoots within the meantime. So we're talking from like 2016 all the way to 2022. What are we now? 2022? Yeah, 2022. Did a load of like up and down photo shoot, like did a few different things. Yeah. And then started to get a little bit bored. I just got a bit of a rut. I was like, I'm not like, every time I go into a gaining phase, I just get fat. I don't really enjoy it. I'm never really put on that much muscle tissue. I'm just not really enjoying this process. It's not giving me everything I want. And I was looking at these like other fitness things. I was like, oh, okay, like a bit more functional, do a bit more conditioning as well. Like, so I started doing a bit of that as well. Did a few runs. And then from there, like me doing anything, I get introduced into something like a little 5K, and I'm like, right, cool, let's do a marathon.
Unreal.
And then so I was like, cool. What's the next step? I was like, did a few runs. I was like, I'm alright at this, to be fair. Let's go.
Unreal. So taking that right back to the beginning of the bodybuilding journey, that first initial spark came from an element of pain, right? Because you were doing this Olympic weightlifting, you're 105 kilos at 6'4", you're in front of your clients, and you probably felt out of shape and you didn't want to be out of shape. So then that came from a point of pain rather than a point of kind of where you are right now of being confident with your physique. So do you think that it was the pain and the self-doubt and the insecurity that sparked you to take action on actually changing and going forward with something in terms of physique development?
Yeah, massively. I was probably just like in a very unconfident time at the moment. I can't remember what it was around Christmas time. I remember because I remember I did the photo shoot. So I think I saw a picture of myself like on holiday that year, and I
Mm.
was like, "What are you doing, mate? You look an absolute mess." And like it was more down to this like it wasn't the person I wanted to be. It wasn't the identity that I wanted to be. It wasn't. I like being a healthy individual, and it wasn't that at all. So I was like, right, cool. You need change.
Yeah, 100%. And there's that saying, isn't there, that change happens when the pain of staying the same is outweighed by the pain of doing the stuff required to actually make a change, which is a huge thing, right? Because I think that's what sparks a lot of people to maybe get into their own fitness journey or maybe take on a coach or anything like that. It's the pain of, I can't live my life like this anymore. I can't look at myself in the mirror and be confident. I can't wear the clothes that I want to wear. I can't go into the gym and be that confident person. Something needs to change. And the change of doing the
Mm.
weight sessions, doing the cardio sessions is a lot easier than staying in those clothes feeling unconfident. And that's where I think a lot of that change happens and that big spark comes from. So that was the bodybuilding spark. What was the spark for the running? So you went on a 5K and you were like, right, I'm pretty good at this. What was the stitch from doing that 5K to being like, I want to do a marathon? You're an all-in type of guy, but what was the thought
Mm.
behind that?
So I signed up for, I did a few runs and I was like, oh, I quite know. I can't actually remember what it was. I think I may have done like one or two runs. And it was my classic cocky self at Halo, just having a laugh, going like, "Fuck, this is easy." And someone was like, do you reckon you could do a half marathon? I said, well, yeah, of course I could. So I signed up for a half marathon with like 10 weeks training. I was like, cool, I'll do that. Started running, I just ran twice per week. But alongside this, I've always done like hypertrophy strength training alongside the running. I've never been like, and I don't think I ever would ever go into that full on in running. I've tried running 4 times a week, and it's not really my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So I like the mix of both. They call it like hybrid approach, but I like the mix of like resistance training, having a physique, but also being fit as well at the same time, and having that ability to run and run well and run fast. So I did a half marathon, and I was like, cool, marathon, have to do that. And then so this is where it dives a bit deeper. I actually had to pull out of my first marathon because I got injured, and I was like, this hurt a lot to pull out to something that I've had to tell every single person that I'm doing, and then suddenly have to tell them something that I'm telling them I'm not doing. And it was really actually for something that like so small. Realistically, who cares? Like no one. Like no one really cares. But it's one of the things that like for me to tell them that and be like, I'm actually not doing it because of injury. It made me feel like I don't know. It just did not sit well for me. It's just something like it didn't align with who I am. I've always been one of those people who if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'll do it.
Mm.
So then I took a bit of time off, recovered from the injury, and then was like, right, cool. I just thought I was having a conversation with my girlfriend and was like, right, we're going to book one. I'm just going to get it booked. If I have it booked, I'll train for it. So I was like, cool, book, got a plan in place, 3 days a week running, let's go. And then started getting into it, and I was like, okay, there's no real goal. The goal is to complete it. And then it was like, right, cool, I want to get as close as like a sub 4 marathon below the 350s. And then I pushed as hard as I could, did all the training, ticked all the boxes, and then managed to get a 3:48. So I'm happy days.
So with that result, just touch on the result quickly. What were you aiming for with the result, and were you happy with what you achieved?
Yeah, so the goal was anything sub 4 hours, and then it's now I got 3:48. So very pleased. It was more down to the fact of like running's weird because it's when you do a run, you don't know how you've a lot of the time, especially when it's your first run, when it's like your first half marathon, a marathon, whatever. You've never run those distances, you don't know how you're going to feel.
So it's going
You're
like
very unsure. Yeah, like when me and you had this conversation about this, didn't we, before? And I was like, Photo shoots and stuff are different because when you go into them, you've done the work. Like the work's been done, and it's like you rock up, and even like 1 week prior to a photo shoot, you're done. Like you're just going into peak week at that point, and realistically, there's no real changes going to be like. You can't really fuck it either as well. Like you basically just got to try and do your best and to follow the plan and stick to it. But you've done the hard work. When it comes to a marathon, it's like okay, cool. I got up to 20 miles, and that was training. And that's 4 weeks prior to I do the marathon. So I still have 4 weeks. And then you start tapering. So you start deloading essentially and bringing the mileage down, breaking it easier. And then you're like, right, cool, I've got to go run a marathon. And that's 6 more miles. That's 10 more K to what I've ever ran before, which is like for me, is like 55, 50 minutes. And I'm like, Jesus, that's a long time for me to never have touched on those distances. So it was a weird one. Like I like loads of anxiety, nerves. I was like, oh God, like what's this going to feel like? How's this going to feel? I started doubting myself. I was like, right, okay, the goal was just to cross the finish line, just experience it. But when I got into it, I was like, right, sub 4's on the cards, let's go.
So do you think that self-doubt and that anxiety before it was fueling you or hindering you? Because with sports performance and with anything in terms of this sort of fitness realm, it can either be a detriment or it can benefit you massively. So actually on the race day, do you think that those anxieties and self-doubt of going back to the gym and being like, right, yep, I've done this, and coming back to what sparked it for you? Because if we go back to what sparked it for you, it was probably you proving people wrong of like, do you reckon you can do a half marathon? Well, yeah, of course I can. Or do you think you've got a full marathon in you? Well, of course I can. It's you saying the goal, but then actually following through with it. Because in this day and age, a lot of people like to talk, but they don't like to act on it, right? A lot of talkers, not a lot of doers. So do you like to always back up your bullshit in terms of that way of like, if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm not giving up until it's done?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been like that with like photo shoot preps as well. And when I was like, even back in my like weightlifting competition days, like if I'm saying I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna put everything into it and give it the best shot I can. And I won't let anything get in the way of things when it comes down to like back when I was doing a photo shoot, nutrition wise, I wouldn't let anything get in the way. I wouldn't have any excuses. I would like go all in. Because I've always been one of those people. I would never want to look back and be like, I wish I did this different.
Mm.
I'd always want to be in a position where, okay, cool, I've done everything I physically can to get to where I wanted to be. The work's done. Amazing.
100%. So do you think that comes from an element of letting yourself down or letting other people down in terms of the opinion that they're going to have of you?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm like, right, cool. But the thing is, I thrive off that pressure, and I love that pressure, and I love the pressure of people around me. Like, even like, I love the conversation I'll have with people. I'm a bit strange, really. I love the conversation I have with people, and I chat to my old man. I'll ring my dad up while I'm on a 20-mile run, and he'll be like, "What are you up to?" I'm like, "Right, I'm 15 miles into a 20 mile. I've got 5 miles left." He's like, "You're mad. Why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Because of training. This is what I've got to do." He's like, "Oh my God, like that's ridiculous." And I'm like, I love that
Mm.
people like,
Where
I
do you
love
think
doing these things that people
where do you think
do.
that element of it comes from though in terms of everything in which you're doing? So like in terms of that challenge, why do you think that sticking around people and calling your dad up is going to help you? And how do you block out the noise of, oh well, you're being silly, like running a marathon, crazy idea, doing a photo shoot and getting down to really lean body fat, crazy idea? How do you block out the noise? Because there's a lot of opinions these days.
I've always been one of these people. Like I thrive with doing things that people can't do. That's like a big like. I love doing that. I know it sounds like really like egotistical or whatever, but like or like cocky. Like, but I like the thing of like right, people really struggle doing this.
Mm.
Right, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's put everything into it. So I can do that. Like I reckon if you dived really deep into like my psychology and my like upbringing and so on and so forth, and my youth and so on. Like I was never when I was younger. I was never highly academic. I've always been like I was never super intelligent as a child, it was one of those things of like people. I wouldn't say people had doubts of what I was going to become, but it was always this thought of like, oh, it'd be interesting to see what Pat does. Do you see what I mean? Like teachers were always like that. Like I was always this class clown, like cocky young individual, just more there for the laughs than I was for. I was there for the social, not for the academic side. And I
Yeah.
think, and going through school and stuff like that, and I think it was one of those things of like, oh, I'll be interested to see where Pat goes with this. And I reckon that's, if you dive deep in, that's probably where it comes from now, like proving everybody that I can do so much more than ever some people ever thought I could. And it's the same with my business. Like I've always been, right, cool. Like how far can I take this? How far can I push this? What's the next level I can get to? Like let's keep building. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people, they'll be like, right, cool. Like you make a good living, you're busy, blah, blah, blah. Like, just chill now. Like, I'm like, nah, like, there's more. I know there's more. I don't know what that more is. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I know there's more. And we'll keep pushing and we'll keep helping as many people as I physically can get into the best shapes of their life and get into the gym and start training and just feeling better about themselves. And that's like the big thing for me. It's like, it's probably down to the fact of like, people never thought I would ever be something much or
Yeah.
be much, but then
Mhm.
essentially and then that's my point where it stems from.
Yeah, I think I'm very, very like hearing you say that. I'm super, super similar with that in terms of physique development. People said to me growing up, "You never have abs. Like, yeah, you've got a good amount of muscle tissue on you, but you'll never have abs. We've never seen you have abs." All of that sort of stuff, and it's just like, right, okay, I'm gonna prove you wrong. And then when it comes to the business side of stuff as well, it's like, okay, right, you say that I can't do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to go and prove to you and go and do X, Y, and Z. And that's why, like, people come up to me to this day still and they're like, how are you so confident talking on camera and talking to social media and all of this sort of stuff? It's just starting with just doing it, not giving a care in the
Mm.
world about the judgment, about the opinions, about the outside noise. Like, I know that there's going to be people who might make a comment about me starting a podcast or me doing my Instagram content or anything like that. Everyone's going to have an opinion, and I know that everyone's going to have an opinion. But if I can impact at least one person on that day positively, that's all I care about. If I've got 10 people behind my back talking absolute rubbish, I'm fine with that. But if I've positively impacted one person's life, that's huge because that means I've moved the needle forward for that one person. And the stuff behind it is just going to happen anyway. So I think a lot of motivation initially and that deep reason as to why you want to do something does stem from a really dark, deep sort of place, I think. So, in terms of actually running the marathon, did you get to any points within the marathon that you had to be like, right, I've got to go to a pretty dark place in my mind to get through this next mile or 2 miles? I've really got a tunnel vision, zone in, think about some dark stuff to then just go on. How did you approach that mindset with the marathon? Because it's 3 hours 48 of you alone time with your thoughts. That's huge. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was. I definitely I felt good the majority of the time out. Don't get me wrong. There was periods of time where I was like, this is getting hard, or like you're only like you just completed a half marathon. You've got exactly the same again. Like this is going to be tough. And I think a few things popped in my head of like, okay, cool. Like imagine what I think is going to be crossing the finish line. That's like a big one of mine. It's like I've always thought about that through training as well. As like imagine crossing that finishing line and everyone cheer for you and be like that's a huge part of it. It's like okay, just imagine that and visualize that feeling. And then I think through like the periods of time where it got a little bit more spicy, it was like, right, just don't stop. Like, all you've got to do is just keep running. That's all you've got to do. The only thing you've got to do is put one foot in front of the other and keep running. If you start walking, it's going to make it harder. If you stop, it's going to make it hard because you've got to go again. You've got momentum. You've got that. Just keep moving and like keep looking at your watch, keep looking at your pace, and keep ticking over. And as long as you nail all the other variables in regards to fueling, hydration, so on and so forth, your body can just keep going. And like, don't get me wrong, there was times when I popped in my head, it was like, this is hard, and like then I was like, right, I'll be letting people down. I've told a lot of people I'm doing this. Like, what conversations am I going to have with someone after this? Going, no, I stopped because I found it hard. I was like, no chance. Like everything, we find everything hard. Like life is hard. Like get up and just go for it. Like all I've got to do is complete this. I've done the majority of it, so let's just keep working. I think that was the main thing. It was like, imagine having a conversation with someone after, it's like, ringing my dad up, how'd you get on, mate? Like, yeah, I stopped, so I found it tough. All right, like, of course you found it tough. It's a marathon. Like, it's going to be tough. Like, it's like decide to do a photo shoot and be like, nah, I'm hungry. It's like, well, you're sweet, mate. You're meant to be hungry.
I think that's a perfect analogy for life, to be fair. And I think what you said there that really stuck out, and for anyone listening, this rings so true, is in those hard times, do not stop. You need momentum and you need consistency, because the moment that you stop, you have got to get moving again. And getting moving again is the hardest part. Whereas if you have consistency and momentum, you can just keep going. Even if it is a 1% progress every single day, at least you are still progressing. And that's a huge factor, right? So that then shows how big accountability is with your goal, right? Because straight away you've said there, oh, I've got to go back to work, I've got to go back to the gym. And imagine telling people I didn't complete it, or imagine saying on social media that I haven't done it, or not posting about it at all and just hiding away. So I think accountability to your goals is massive, right? And even if people don't have a coach, accountability is the number one thing. So with you and your clients, how do you strategize and how do you work around accountability? Because you do a lot of photo shoots, you do a lot of stuff like that. What would you say is the number one thing to help keep them accountable to that goal?
Number one thing is have someone in the corner. Like that's you're going to be your best bet. Like have someone who is rooting for you, who's guiding you, and who is going to check in with you and hold you accountable. So when it comes to my clients, like if they're doing photo shoots, diets, gaining phases, whatever it is, I'll always set them up with a weekly check-in. So this would be at a place where, like every other online coach, but a place where they check in. They fill in all the details they've got from the week, give me everything in regards to all the metrics that I need to know where they're going, how they're doing, and where they're going. In regards to a bit of general updates in regard like what's going well with them and so on and so forward. And then just check in on a week-to-week basis. But I always like to keep on contact with people as well, a couple of times a week, just to make sure they're doing it right. I always say to my clients, if you need anything, please do not hesitate. Just reach out, shout me, pull me, but grab me in the gym if you need anything. Just shout me. But when it comes to like achieving a goal and achieving something big, accountability is huge. And there's so much you can do by yourself. So I really feel like getting someone in your corner, having someone who believes in you, and that can be anyone. That could be a coach, that could be a friend, it could be a family member, that could be your social media, like putting it on the social media. I've always done that, like put it on my social media and push for it. So I think doing that sort of stuff is always just, like accountability is going to be the biggest drivers for you to achieve those big goals.
Mm-hmm. And it's about moving to a higher standard, right? Because with your mindset or with ups and downs, because obviously we all get high days, we all get low days. So let's say you wake up on a low day and you've got 60 minutes of cardio to do. If you're doing that for yourself, 9 times out of 10, it's really easy to let yourself off of that cardio. Whereas if you've got accountability, you've got a coach or a friend or social media to report into and be like, right, I've got to show up and actually do the 60 minutes, no matter how difficult, no matter how hard it may be. You've still got to keep accountable to someone. So having that accountability in your corner, being like, right, I don't now just rely on myself. I have to rely on someone else because I've got to check in with that person, and I can't let myself down, but I also can't let them down. So instead of fighting a battle with one person, you're now fighting a battle with 2 people. And that's so powerful, right? In anything that you do. We all good with connection? Maybe connection went. So the next question for you would be, how do you feel pre-race versus pre-gym sessions? What is the difference in mindset? Because they're 2 very different things. How do you feel different?
Pre-race is like it's a difficult one because how would I feel about this? Pre-race is more down to like you know that you're gonna take yourself to, because like a lot of the times when you do a race, it's like you're taking yourself to that extremity of like push your body to a new place it's never been. Gym training's in a sense, it's similar because you are trying to eke progression out over each session, so on and so forth. The thing about the post-race and post-gym, the pre-race and pre-gym is, post-race that you're going to feel like death because it's going to hurt like hell and you're going to push your body to the absolute extreme. With training-wise and going into the gym and doing like a hypertrophy session, it's taxing on the body, but it's not like you've got rest periods. You've got times where you're not pushing yourself. You've got times where you're having like a little bit of like more rest than you would normally, or you're not pushing your heart rate to those levels. So I find pre-race is much more like, right, this is, you have a bit more like anxiety going into it and a bit more nerves going into it because you're like, right, this is gonna hurt like hell. I know this is gonna hurt because no matter what the race is, if it's a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon or a marathon, I've done all of them now, and they all hurt the same because whatever distance you're running towards or running, you're pushing your body to the extreme it could do within that distance. So to a relative standpoint, they're all as hard as each other. A 5K, you'll push as physically hard, you're basically a sprinter. In a 10K, you're running very, very fast for that distance. A half marathon, you're running faster than you would a marathon. Because it's a shorter pace, you'll get it done quicker. And then marathon, you're running as fast as you can and while holding that pace for an extended period of time. And they would forever go on. If you did a 50K, you do a 50 miler, you do the same. I think you have a bit more like nerves on it because you know it's going to hurt and you're wanting to take your body to that new extreme. And like, how hard can you push it? With the gym session, it's just more like, right, cool, I'm going to be pushing hard, but it's not going to be that bad.
Right, okay, so with the run, it's more going into the unknown, the fear of the unknown that then brings on the nerves and the anxiety. Whereas with a gym session, I do this session 4 times a month, 5 times a month, twice a week.
And then how it's going to feel.
You know how it's going to feel, yeah, 100%, because you've put the reps in.
And then and when it comes down to the running side of things, if I did a 5K, for example, I know that my heart rate is going to be around about 180 to 190 beats per minute for about 20 minutes, which is going to hurt. And then if I did like a marathon, for example, my heart rate was an average of like 170. So like you're taking a cardiovascular system to this next level. You're taking your endurance, your legs to this next level. So it's a different feeling. Definitely, running's definitely more painful, mate. Those sort of events, yeah.
100%. So the last question that we're going to finish off with is, what's the mindset behind everything that you do? Is it to, and I want to go quite deep on this one, is it to get away from your past self, or is it to benefit the future you and your family? Because you're a big family man. You like your family a lot in terms of you're very close knit, all of that sort of stuff. You strike me as a family guy as well. In terms of that, are you kind of coming away from your past self and trying to get away from the doubters, or are you trying to benefit your future family and your future career?
I think there's a bit of both in there. Like definitely to this day, I still think like, right, cool. People maybe I don't know why I have these thought processes, but I'm sure people would not want me to fail, but just expect me to not keep this momentum up throughout my whole life. They're like, oh, it's gonna stop at some point. I'm like, what's he gonna do at this point? Or what's he gonna do when he's old? He can't do that when he's like. There's always people having those conversations. So I think it's definitely like proving people that I'm capable of doing this and so much more in the future. Definitely. I think definitely comes down to I want to set myself up for the best life I physically can, and I don't think that's like hugely down to like from a financial standpoint. I like it's not down to like, right, I've got to make 200K that I'm happy, or I've got to make 500K or 100K, whatever that is. That's not like, I'm not a number guy, and I'm not bothered about those things. For me, it's setting up a life where I absolutely love my job. I'm giving people everything I physically can from a coaching perspective. I'm doing the best I can in that side of things. I've got freedom in regards to time to spend with my family and time off work and so on and so forth. And to set up a good future going forward, so I'm able to look after my family, be able to run a successful business, and have time to spend with them as well, and not being like, right, I've just got to work every day until I'm old. It's like, no, cool, I want to be able to set up a business where I can continue helping people as much as I physically can, but while also having time for myself and my family.
So it's more of that time freedom versus that financial freedom, right? So you're more driven by having freedom with time and being able to, at the weekend, spend time with your girlfriend and your family and go for roast dinners and all of that sort of stuff versus driving a fancy McLaren or a Ferrari.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, like I've never really been hugely motivated by this. Like, don't get me wrong. Like money's nice, and like money buys nice things, and it gives you more freedom in a sense. But as long as I can go on a couple of holidays a year and do what I like to do, training, all that sort of stuff, spend time on the weekend with my family, all that sort of bits, I'm happy.
Do you ever think about who you are right now being a role model for your children when they are older, when they look up to you, when you have children? Because obviously you're a big family guy. So if you want a family in the future, do you think about, right, who I am now? That really sets me up as to how they're going to be, because children learn through what they live, right? Does that ever kind of spark anything in you in terms of training and progression and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. I think what I do offers valuable um parts of, like, for example, what I'm trying to say is like what we do in regards to, okay, cool, like with the gym, training, nutrition, so on and so forth, the physique development side of things and pushing our bodies to the next level involves key factors. And I feel like those key factors can be very important for like a young person's growth and development into life. What I mean by this is consistency. Like we thrive off consistency. We know that we need to be consistent. Delayed gratification. We know that if we put the work in today, nothing's going to happen today. We know that we put the work in a week's time, nothing's really going to happen. You don't get fit overnight. You don't build a physique overnight. You need to be consistent and then putting the work in over an extended period of time to eat the results. So we don't look the way we do, and I can't run the way I run. If we just turning up to the gym and being lucky. We've put
Hmm.
the work in and done that. And also as well, it's just being through the consistency, delayed gratification, and motivation, and to essentially dedication to something and being consistent with it. I think those are like key factors that are can be very like influential to like young people going forward and so on and so forward. And I'll just try and be the best role model I physically can.
100%. I think that's really powerful because the fitness journey, whether that's doing a marathon, whether it's doing a photo shoot, really does come down to life, right? And it's very much what you put in is what you get out. If you put in 70%, you'll likely return 70% of the result. If you put in 100%, you'll likely return 100% of the result. So I think that's a really, really good thing, especially in the world now where it's a lot of instant gratification, showing your future children, your clients, your family, that actually you've got to do the work now that is going to benefit you in 3 months' time. And even then, you might require another 3 months, so 6 months' time to be able to get the result that you truly want from everything. It's not going to happen now, but you've got to do the work now to get from where you are to where you want to be, essentially.
Delayed gratification is key.
Consistency, discipline, delayed gratification, all of it. Huge, huge lessons that I think anyone can take away at any age. I don't think it's just for early life. I think as we go throughout life, we can sometimes get derailed or detract and all of this sort of stuff. Like I went through some stuff a couple of years back where I got into the wrong relationship, where it took me away from my core values and my core purpose, that it started to actually have an impact on my own training, my goals, and my career, because I was putting all of my eggs in the wrong basket. So there is definitely a time for realignment as well. And I think having that realignment of setting yourself a big goal is the perfect and best way to do any of that, because it really teaches those disciplines again and just reaffirms that time
Absolutely.
in, time out, which is a huge thing. So I did say it's the final question, but we got one more question, as I know that you're a big foodie. So, what is PMC's death row meal? So, your last
This is
3 course meal. What are we saying?
Easy, mate. So we're gonna go either. I'm happy with either. So it can be a chicken tender or a wing in a buffalo sauce with a blue cheese dip. Starter, boxed off. Main course, we're going for fillet steak with a side of peppercorn sauce with some triple cooked chips and a bit of mayonnaise. It was my death row meal, mate. Fuck the veg off. No chance. And then and then if we had to have some, I'll have some tender stem. And then pudding is gonna be a warm brownie with like a salted caramel ice cream.
Very good. Very good. That's probably the best one I've heard in a while, to be fair. That is 3 very, very strong choices. So if people wanted to find out more about you, follow you and your journey, your next big goal that you set for yourself, because we know that PMC doesn't do things by halves, where can they find you on social media? Plug away.
So just type in PM coaching _ you will be able to find me there. You'll see a picture of me literally I think I'm wearing the exact same outfit as I wore my picture, so there you go. You'll be able to find me there. And I'll be posting everything in regards to my goals and so on and so forth going forward.
Definitely follow him because we need to keep him accountable to his next goal. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for coming on, Pat. And we will catch you next time. Until next time, elevate your lifestyle.